Let's cut through the lies. Not all married women are safe, loyal, and unreachable. In fact, some of them are the most vulnerable, emotionally starved, and mentally available people you'll ever meet. Why? Because marriage isn't always what it looks like from the outside. Behind the smiling Instagram posts and gold wedding bands, there's often a silent war of unmet needs, suppressed desires, and emotional neglect. Today, we're going to break down the hard truth, the raw, uncomfortable, and brutally honest truth about why married women become easy prey. Not for manipulation, not for exploitation, but because they've been forgotten in their own homes. And we're going to look at this through the lens of Stoicism, not to judge, but to understand, and ultimately, to grow. Segment 1, the emotional starvation in marriage. Most people believe marriage equals fulfillment, but many married women feel more alone in a relationship than they ever did single. Why? Because men stop showing up. They stop listening. They become consumed by work, stress, or indifference. And a woman, no matter how committed, is still human. She craves attention, emotional connection, validation. When those needs go unmet long enough, she becomes vulnerable. Not weak, vulnerable. Stoicism teaches us that suffering often arises not from the situation itself, but from our interpretation of it. Imagine being in a marriage where your voice is ignored, your body is touched only out of routine, your emotions are dismissed. Over time, the soul cries out for connection. That's when another man, often unknowingly, steps in and becomes the listener, the safe space, the understander. Not because he's better, but because he's there. Segment 2, the silent desperation. A married woman's vulnerability doesn't show up as tears or breakdowns. It shows up as subtle flirtation, oversharing, extra eye contact, or excessive texting. These are not always deliberate moves. They are emotional survival instincts. Stoicism reminds us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. A married woman suffering in silence may begin to reframe her pain. Maybe I deserve better. Maybe this man sees me more clearly than my husband does. Maybe I've been neglected for so long, I owe it to myself to feel alive again. It's not about lust, it's about life. The most dangerous place to be is not in conflict, it's in emotional indifference. When her partner no longer sees her, she seeks visibility elsewhere. That's not evil, that's human. And that's why she becomes easy prey, not because she's looking, but because she's been overlooked. Segment 3, the role of modern culture and technology. In today's world, attention is currency. Social media has made it easy for anyone to feel seen, even if it's just superficial. Married women who feel emotionally bankrupt at home often find dopamine hits online, from likes, DMs, compliments. That virtual validation replaces real intimacy. And before you know it, the woman who once would never have entertained another man's message is now replying with emojis and subtle hints. Again, not because she's inherently disloyal, but because she's starving. In Stoicism, we're taught to focus on what we can control. But many people, men included, lose themselves trying to control their spouse while failing to master themselves. They neglect the daily work of connection and then wonder why the bond collapses. Emotional affairs are often born in the comment sections, not the bedroom. And it all starts with a lack of attention at home. Segment 4, the danger of the predator mindset. Now let's talk about the other side, the men who target married women. Some do it for the thrill, for ego, or even for power. Stoicism condemns this behavior because it feeds on the weakness of others instead of fortifying our own virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Just that you do the right thing, The rest doesn't matter. A Stoic man doesn't pursue broken women. He seeks to understand them, and if anything, uplift them. But many modern men are trained to spot vulnerability and exploit it. They know how to listen just enough, compliment just right, and disappear at the first sign of emotional depth. These are not Stoics, these are opportunists, and it's why so many women, married or not, end up more damaged than they were before. Wisdom is knowing the difference between a woman who is healing and a woman who is hiding, and integrity is refusing to take advantage of either. Segment 5. How Stoicism reframes desire and discipline. Desire is not the enemy. Lack of discipline is. Stoicism teaches that the wise man doesn't chase every temptation. He studies it, understands it, and then decides what aligns with his values. The same applies to how we view married women. If you're a man tempted to pursue a married woman, ask yourself, what am I really craving? Is it intimacy, ego boost, validation, or is it avoidance of my own loneliness? If you're a woman in a marriage and you find yourself emotionally leaning toward another man, ask, what need is not being met? And how can I address it with honesty instead of secrecy? The Stoic path is not about denying our feelings. It's about mastering them. The most powerful man is not the one who can seduce a married woman. It's the one who can recognize her pain, offer compassion, and walk away. The Stoic response to the truth. So yes, married women often become easy prey, not because they are weak, but because they are human, because they are exhausted, because they are unseen, and because our culture has normalized neglect in relationships and glamorized quick validation. But as Stoics, we don't use this truth to manipulate. We use it to reflect. We ask deeper questions. We hold ourselves to higher standards, and we stop contributing to cycles of emotional damage. The Stoic doesn't feed off chaos. He restores order. So if you see a married woman who seems emotionally available, don't rush in with selfish intent. Ask instead, what would a man of virtue do here? Sometimes the highest act of strength is walking away, not because you couldn't, but because you shouldn't.